Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of the DVC Clubhouse. I'm Amy and joined by Jeff as always. And today we have with us Chad and Renee, friends of ours from DVC that Jeff and I actually met up with in person at the beginning of this year over some coffee and Mickey beignets. And we are so happy to have you all here today to share your DVC origin story with us and with our viewers. So thank you so much for agreeing to come along this journey with us.
Hello.
Thank you so much for having us.
Yeah, welcome, guys.
I feel like we're all on this journey together.
Say that's fair.
For sure. So anyway, tell us a little bit about yourselves, where you live, and then a little bit about your DVC, or rather your Disney history that then eventually led you to DVC.
You want to start?
Well, currently we live in Metro Atlanta. I've lived in Georgia my whole life. I've lived in Metro Atlanta my whole life. My family all lives here. Chad?
I grew up in Southwest Louisiana. Spent a lot of time bouncing around Louisiana, Texas, South Carolina, made my way to Atlanta and ended up with meeting Renee. And we have two great kids. We have AJ, who's 11, and we have Will, who's 8. I also have 2 older adult children. Disney for me, I went one time the year Epcot opened. And did not go back for 35 years.
Oh, wow.
Renee and the boys actually went, AJ went twice without me as a little one. Will went once as a little one without me. Renee and her family have been going.
So the very first time I went, I was 3 years old. So that's quite a long time ago. That was 1977. And yeah, so we always, not every year, but every couple or few years, we would go as a family because we live here in Georgia. So for a long time, we stayed off property. It was very interesting. But then the very time that we stayed on property, we never stayed off property again. So we just, I just have so many memories. That nostalgia factor is real big for me. And yeah, so just I've gone a lot throughout my whole life. That just fed my love of Disney.
Very cool.
It's not like I didn't go because I didn't want to go. We just never went back. Living in South Louisiana, I mean, it was a 2-day drive to get to Orlando. And once my parents divorced and I got a little older, I didn't do summer vacations with my dad and my stepmom. They went a couple times. I just never ended up going. And then when me and Renee got married, I got into radio, working in radio very late in life. I was a 40-year-old intern working in radio. So when we first got married, I was working Atlanta Braves games. I was a traffic reporter. I had 3 jobs all on the same floor within the cluster of radio stations I worked at, but nothing full time. So I didn't get vacation. So Renee would go with the boys and her parents and ended up finally saying, you got to go. And so we rented DVC points from a friend and stayed at Wilderness Lodge. And I think by the time we were driving home, she was trying to find us a contract. I bought it, hook, line, and sinker. I mean, you guys have seen, I've got Mickey Mouse tattooed on my arms. I'm bought in. They got me. From going back in 2017 it's like I had never left. Everything was almost the way I imagined it, minus the dream finder and the real Figment ride. It was just there. Peter Pan was the same. Big Thunder Mountain was the same. It was there. The Hoop-Dee-Doo Review. I mean, all of it. It was all there, and it came back like that. And it's a feeling that's. I don't have to describe it to you guys because you know that feeling.
Yeah.
And if I could capture that feeling and put it in something so that when people say, why do you spend every vacation day you have at Disney? I could just open it up and say, here. And they would get that feeling and they would know that's why.
Yeah, and you're right. It's a feeling. It's hard to explain to people what it is because it really is a feeling. And unless you've experienced it, it's hard to communicate that because you have to experience it to know it. And, I remember I got married in Disney World, and it was a really fun experience because we had about 60 guests there, and a lot of them had never been to Disney World before. And it was so fun to watch so many people that were important to me experience Disney World for the first time and see them. And especially the skeptics, the ones who were the least understanding of why I loved it and why I would just get married there. And by the end of that, my wedding weekend, there were people who added nights onto their stay because they loved it so much and wanted to experience it all. So it is something that, like, once you experience it, it is. And I love how you explain that. Like, if you could just put it in a container and open it up and just let them immerse themselves in that, then they'd get it.
Yeah, put that in the subscription box.
But don't let him fool you, because it was hard to get him to go the first time. So he is one of those skeptics. And the first night we were there, it was a little bit rough. We had driven all from, maybe got up at like 5 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the morning, driven the whole way there. It was raining. It was, I don't know what. It was a lot. And he just, I'm not sure about this. I'm not sure about all this. And I said, well, that's fine. Once this trip is over, you don't have to come back. And then the next day we went to Magic Kingdom, and I'm pretty sure that was it. So, yeah.
And we did stay at Wilderness Lodge for the first time. With my first trip back, 35 years in between trips. So we stayed at Wilderness Lodge. The first time we stayed at the Buena Vista Palace, which is now a Disney Springs hotel, but it had just gotten built. And that whole area down there that was downtown Disney, what had just really started blowing up. I mean, it was really a big to-do all of a sudden to have that space down there. So it was, Wilderness Lodge was a whole different thing. I think she knew what she was doing by making me stay DVC the first time, because she's been wanting to get into DVC for as long as we've been together. I know she's talked about it.
Let me interrupt here. Yes. So when he said that when we were driving home, I was looking for a contract, that was years in the making for me. I have wanted to be part of DVC probably 20 to 25 years. I have done research on DVC, and I tried to talk my parents into going in with me, because Chad and I didn't get married until I was 36 years old, and I have no previous marriages. So I was just single, and I tried to talk my parents into it over and over and over. And I just had this dream in my mind that that's what I wanted to do. And I didn't know if I would ever be able to make that happen. So let me explain. As soon as he was like, yeah, that was it. I mean, I had found the contract like immediately, because I was just waiting on somebody to let me do it. So,
and we had a terrible timeshare when I was growing up as a kid, and Gulf Shores, Alabama. And, I mean, it was awful. And so I had a really bad experience with timeshares. My dad sold timeshares. So I really didn't, I was like, there's no way you can justify making this work. And then I looked at the numbers and DVC's not, your typical beach high pressure timeshare. It's I'd like to say it retains its value, if not grows. I mean, we bought our points, $89 a point is what we paid for our initial Boulder Ridge contract. Yeah, find that, you know what I mean? If we could find that now, I'd buy 10 of them.
Yeah.
I'm sad I didn't buy it. We only bought 100 points, and I'm really sad I didn't buy more back then.
Well, I have to say, Chad, I feel like you got played a little bit here. Like, I think she had a plan from the get-go, and you're just along for the ride, dude.
I drink way more of the Kool-Aid than she does, brother.
I don't know about that. I mean, yours is just condensed. Mine is over 40 something years.
Absolutely.
So. Absolutely. But yeah, I have DVC promotional materials from like
she's got
90s.
Do you have a DVC VHS tape, or is it?
I think it's a
DVD, like a picture
still,
DVD. I mean,
every few years I had to get more promotional items to just
fuel the fire.
Be ready. Just be ready whenever the time came.
I relate to that because back in the days before the internet was what it is now, really the only way to get any information about Disney World was to either buy the Birnbaum's Guide in the bookstore, which came out once a year, or to request the Disney World promotional VHS tape. And I called every year and requested it. And I would sit there and watch it as if it was like entertainment and not a sales pitch trying to sell me a vacation. But I would just sit there, and that's how I would get my Disney fix, was through a VHS tape sent from Disney marketing. So
I think I have a hardback book like that they sent me one time, a hardback book of all of the properties at that time.
Wow.
It's crazy.
Yeah. I have that somewhere too. I'll have to see if I can find it.
Yeah.
So that was in 2017 then that you guys bought into Boulder Ridge?
Yep.
Yes. Yeah. So we went in June of 2017, renting points from a friend of mine. And I found 1 month later, I found a contract. 1 month. It was not on the way home, but I started looking on the way home. But 1 month later, I found a contract, and we went through the resale process. So it took a little bit of time, but I think we got our points by September.
She's a teacher. Facts are important. I'm in radio. The story matters.
Well, it's a perfect balance. We need story and we need facts, So, and didn't you guys just recently add at Riviera?
Riviera, yeah. And we stayed at Riviera once in a tower studio, right when it had initially opened, right towards the beginning when it, and it was beautiful. I mean, it was absolutely gorgeous. But I said from day one, no, we're not staying here. This is a great Vegas hotel. It has no business being in Disney. The theming, we're supposed to be on the French and Italian Riviera, but Peter Pan's flying over my head in downtown London. I didn't get it. I was completely thrown off. Now, Topolino's, probably my favorite restaurant until Flying Fish took that spot recently, but I was blown away by everything about it. It just didn't seem Disney, if that makes sense. And I think a lot of people can relate to that. Then when we went this year for 4th of July.
Yeah, I think so. But I want to say my initial thought on it was like, it looks like a condominiums. Like it just did from the outside. But the outside is not where the magic of Riviera is. So that's why took us a while to come around.
And when we said we were going to buy a direct contract, again, a lot of things happen here by coincidence or by divine intervention from someone. When we first bought our resale contract, they sent us a blue card. So we have had the blue card benefits the whole time we were in DVC, and the card expired. And now we didn't have those benefits anymore. And I can't get in the top of the world. And I can't get into extra magic hours. And we can't.
Or the DVC lounge.
And so, okay, there's a reason to buy direct. So we said we were going to buy direct, and we were kind of flipping, flopping where we were going to go. But we took a tour of Riviera, and the guide pointed out, hey, did you notice this subtle little hint here? Did you notice this here? Did you know every bit of artwork in this place is for sale? You can take any of it home. Okay, now I get it.
Yeah.
And it was those little things that we didn't take the time. I didn't take the time to bother to look into. Wilderness Lodge slaps you in the face with it. Grand Floridian slaps you in the face with it. Poly, you know what I mean? You walk into the Poly, by golly, that's where you're at. You know it. And so I guess it was more subtle, and I didn't take the time to see it. And once I did, and I was shown, okay, right here. Can we sign up today?
And I am, of course, again, the practical one, I guess. And so Chad and I take 2 to 3 adult-only trips a year to Disney. On a whole, we go 6 to 8 times a year. And so the Tower Studios are perfect for us. I mean, they're very close to Epcot. You're just a Skyliner away. I mean, we don't need much room than that. It's not too many points. And because there's so few of them, you pretty much have to own there to book them. So that was also one of the factors, one of the deciding factors also.
I just want to interject for a second, just in case anybody who's watching is not aware of what a Tower Studio is. Do you want to just explain that real quick for anybody?
Sure. The Tower Studio is a little different than the regular studio in the fact that you don't have as much.
Well, the biggest thing is it only
sleeps 2,
unless you have someone under 3. But yes.
It has a king-size Murphy bed that comes down out of the wall that has a sofa when it's up. So your sitting area and your bed are the same place. They're on the corners of all the corners of Riviera. The bathroom is bigger than the whole rest of the room. They took it, cut it in half, and gave a little bit extra to the bathroom. The shower's big enough for your mom, your dad, your sister, your brother, your cat, your dog, your chicken, your hog. Everybody can get in that shower. It's gigantic. And it's just a really cool room. You get a really neat view when you're in the corners there. And it's great for just the 2 of us. Sometimes I feel when we stay in a room that's bigger, there's a lot of wasted space, and we tend to get spread out everywhere, and get a little disorganized. The Tower Studio is perfect for the little 3-day weekends that we like to sneak away on.
That's awesome.
Would you say that was like a major draw for you guys, the Tower Studio?
Yeah.
Oh, definitely.
Yes, definitely so. I mean, that was just, yes, that was one of the selling points for sure, is that if we wanted to stay in the Tower Studio, we would probably have to own, because there's so few of them. So, and when we actually are taking an adult only trip in February, and we are staying in the Tower Studio. So
very cool.
We're not quite on the level of some of our DVC friends that we know that have contracts just for specific weekends of the year.
Oh yeah.
But maybe one day,
Yeah. You know, it's a great point that you guys brought up, and I'd never really thought about it because I know a lot of people have, you know, complained that Riviera isn't Disney enough, or I've heard some people call it, you know, moderate adjacent. You know, there's
Yes.
a whole bunch of nicknames
Yes.
for Riviera, but I think you hit it perfectly on the head. From the outside, it definitely does feel like a Vegas hotel. I never really put that together. I live in Utah and we're in Vegas 6 times a year. It's like a 5-hour drive for us. And so it does. It's like the Venetian from the outside. That's exactly what it looks like.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
I will
put
say
a row
this.
of slot machines and a blackjack table, you're good to go.
Exactly. But then you get into the rooms. And so we, for Hurricane Ian this year, we had a 1-bedroom at Riviera. And I only picked it because, in fact, we only originally had one night, but because Ian came through and a lot of people canceled, we were able to combine our split stay into Grand Floridian and Riviera only. And we were in a 1-bedroom at Riviera, and I still say, hands down, it's my favorite room I've ever stayed in. It was absolutely.
You got the room Amy canceled.
Probably. Yeah, it was hands down my favorite room. The Murphy beds, the kitchen layout, the views, everything about it was just fantastic.
The hidden Mickeys that you didn't know about on the railings.
Yep.
I mean, wow, I was blown away when we did the tour, really, and I'm so looking forward to this February trip.
Yeah, and also in my opinion, the regular studio, it's just very roomy, and it has that split bathroom concept, which is good when all 4 of us go. So we actually have, when we go in June for our family trip, we're at Wilderness Lodge for half of the trip because we're at Boulder Ridge because of the refurb. So we want to see the new rooms. And then half of it, we are in a regular studio at Riviera with our kids. And so that split bathroom and that room, just the space, the amount of space is very attractive.
For sure.
Yeah, that was the what I stayed at the Riviera in a deluxe studio. That was the thing that really stood out to me the most, was how smart of a design it was, with, you know, the Murphy bed, so you don't have cushions all over the place, a coffee table that slides under the regular bed so you don't have to navigate around that. Then you've got the split bathroom and USB ports like everywhere you'd want them to be. So I mean, it really, there is something to be said for resorts that are built in this day and age, because they have the amenities that we need to live in this day and age. Some of the older resorts definitely, you know, as they update them, they're adding them, but some of them, you're like, where am I supposed to plug in all these million devices that I have that require me to plug in like a magic band?
Right. Well,
so
one of the things I liked about Riviera and the USBs that you're talking about is they actually all work. They're not like the ones at some of the older resorts that they've added them in, that the power was never meant to handle that much going in it. So you can either use the plug or you can use the USB. Don't try to use both. At Riviera, it all works.
Yeah. Well, and Riviera,
Which
you know,
is-
that lounge just off the lobby behind, you know, the coffee shop. You know, for whatever reason, I always end up at my resort way before check-in time because I'm working. You know, I run right from the airport to the lobby and I find a place to hunker down until my room's ready. That's my favorite place to have to do. If I have to do business while I'm there, it's the best place. So
I'm a huge fan of the olives that they serve upstairs. And when we stayed the first time there, they actually had some down at the little coffee shop that we were able to get like kind of mid-afternoon. So I really, really enjoyed hanging out in that little coffee shop. And the little library next door that has all the stuff from when Walt went to France, that's another little thing that I don't know if a lot of people know is even there.
right.
But if you go up against that back wall, there's all kind of books and receipts from a bookstore from July 1st, 1940 something, which my birthday's July 1st. So that kind of made it kind of cool to see that. But he bought a bunch of books like Babar and a bunch of books about elephants right before he did Dumbo.
Yeah.
So I thought it was really, that's another one of those little hidden, if you didn't know it was there, you wouldn't know it was there, but that's a cool little room.
Yeah. And that's the room I'm talking about where I like to work. Like I'll plug in, get the table in the corner and just work until I get that text. It's the best.
Oh, that blue color that's in that room is so soothing.
Yep.
Well, and I think it's nice. You have a nice mix of resorts. So you have Boulder Ridge, which is completely rustic. And then you have Riviera that's, more of like this modern kind of streamlined luxury type of resort. So different. And your vacations will feel so different, which is so nice because I love Wilderness Lodge so much. I love Geyser Point. I love looking over Bay Lake. That whole resort, just for me, it exudes peace and tranquility, yet it's so close to the Magic Kingdom, which is so great. And so that, to me, that resort is just like this gem. And then to balance that out with Riviera, which is then has the Skyliner access to Epcot and Hollywood Studios. It's a nice mix.
And one thing about Boulder Ridge that's really cool. We've stayed at Boulder Ridge four times. We've only stayed in 2 rooms.
Oh wow!
We've stayed in the same 2 rooms twice. So that even makes it even better because it's like, oh yeah. No, exactly. It's not that everything's the same in every room anyway, but you know what I mean? You get that familiarity with being in DVC that you don't get. And we do go to different resorts. We've stayed just about everywhere DVC at Disney World except for Grand Floridian. But I think our next contract is probably going to be the Poly Tower whenever that's
what I'm hoping.
Whenever that's ready.
But we did talk about Saratoga. I did like Animal Kingdom Lodge also.
Boy, we really enjoyed staying there for Thanksgiving.
But I think the whole reason, well, there's different reasons, but I think I like Animal Kingdom Lodge for the same reasons that I like Boulder Ridge. They are very similar. They're both very, very themed. They're well themed, and I think I don't know what it is, the darker colors make it more homey. So I don't know. I just think I like both. I like that one, like Animal Kingdom, because of some of the same reasons I like Boulder Ridge, I think. So, but one of my other favorite is Boardwalk.
We've probably stayed at Boardwalk more than we've stayed anywhere.
We love Boardwalk. I just love the vibe there. And again, it's just different. Boulder Ridge is different from Boardwalk, is different from Riviera. They all have their own, attractiveness, I guess.
And I'm like a broken record when it comes to Boardwalk because I own a beach club, which is just right across the lake. And I love beach club, but you cannot beat the Boardwalk's points chart. Those standard view studios, as a beach club owner who bought when beach club was before it was even being done being built, and the only options were Old Key West, Boardwalk, Wilderness Lodge, or beach club, I was picking a standard view studio at Boardwalk every single time because it just I was getting more bang for my buck. I didn't really care about the view at that time because I was traveling with small kids. We were up to rope drop and back when it was dark. We weren't really looking out the balcony much at all. And that points chart just is like, it's a home run for me. So when you combine with the points chart, it's like, to me, the greatest resort on property.
Yeah, I think the standard view studio is less points than the tower studio at Riviera. So
yeah, it is.
Yeah.
And and honestly, that's one of my, I know people feel very strongly either for or against Riviera. my biggest hang up with Riviera is the points chart.
Yeah.
And it's because, I mean, I'm just drawn to resorts with lower points. And again, because, and it was something that came up in a conversation in one of our other, interviews for the channel, is when I bought 200 points, and I bought at a time when all of the points values were very similar. While Boardwalk did have the lowest points because of the standard view, whereas Beach Club and Boulder Ridge, at the time it was just Wilderness Lodge, they only have one view, so it's one points category across the resort. But now you've got these resorts where you could stay somewhere for 15 points. You've got resorts for a studio that are going for like 35 points. And so the amount of points that you need to buy at one of these newer resorts is also greater if you want to extend that and stay at those resorts. So, but again, I think it's a nice combination that you have, because you have that ability to do both. And plus, since you bought Riviera for Tower Studio primarily, that gives you, you're not breaking the bank on points there.
Right.
Exactly. So yeah.
One thing about the
You
points
mentioned
charts too, there's a reason that I bought Old Key West. It's the same reason. It was the best deal in town at the time. I bought right in the middle of COVID, and I felt like my first contract, I basically stole it. I got such a good deal that I'll take that one with me to my grave. I don't care what happens. If I have to work 6 jobs in order to keep it, that one's never going away. But, to your point, Boardwalk, in addition to the points charts, in addition to the restaurants, in addition to the location being close to Epcot, it's also really the only DVC resort that has so much going on around it too. Like, in addition to being at Epcot, there's always something going on in the Boardwalk. Streetmosphere, magic tricks, pizza windows and ice cream. Like, there's nowhere else that's so all-inclusive. Not all-inclusive.
Cab Bar, Bellevue, yeah.
Marvelous Joe's margaritas or jelly rolls. Yeah.
I feel like that whole Crescent Lake area, it feels like this is going to sound silly, but it feels like it's a real place. Do you know what I mean? Not like it was like a hotel that was built. Like, this was a place that existed, that, like this little neighborhood sprung up on this boardwalk, on this lakefront property. And it just feels like it's genuine and authentic. And it's like a little neighborhood that, if you're staying in Boardwalk, you can walk over to Beach Club or over to Yacht Club or over to the Swan and Dolphin or to Epcot. It's like you have this little community around you when you're there. I mean, and that's true of Beach Club too. I think that Boardwalk just feels like it's more in the heart of it, whereas Beach Club is, a little bit tucked away, especially the villas. They're a little tucked away. But that Crescent Lake area, I'm a Crescent Lake girl through and through. So
I thoroughly enjoy everything about staying on around the Epcot resorts. All of them. You talk about Beach Club, 7 minutes from the door to the front gate. I mean, to the back gate of Epcot. I mean, you can't beat that for anything. We when we went for Thanksgiving, we met Michael and Orlando, our other friends from DVC. We met them at Epcot. We walked to Hollywood Studios. I mean, it walked back that way. It was just such a cool, I'd never done that. It was really neat taking that walk. Actually, we may have done it once before, but it was just really cool to do that.
We did it with Kathleen and stuff.
Oh, that's right. We did it with the Huffs. That's absolutely right. But that's really cute. Like you said, you do have that little neighborhood environment there. I've been a radio junkie my entire life. And so Bellevue, to go up there with all the old radios, playing the old classic radio shows, we go to bed most nights listening to something radio from the 30s or the 40s. That's just because that's what I enjoy. So that going up there is just, I could stay there all day.
That's cool.
Yeah, and that's the thing about Disney is like it is those little touches like that are like those unexpected things that draw you in. I mean, you think, people think of Disney, they think of the castle, they think of Spaceship Earth, but it is the details that you're talking about, both at like Riviera, at the Bellevue Lounge, that are the things that when you're there, you just feel this authenticity, this real connection to something beyond just the fairy tale. It's actually a connection and a resonance with something within you, something that you love. There's something, and I'm from New Jersey, love the Jersey Shore, going to Beach Club and Boardwalk, that for me, because it has that like old timey vibe. And I love that because it's kind of like part of like the mythology that I grew up with, and to see it brought to life and to be able to feel like I'm walking in that time when I'm on the boardwalk or in Bellevue Lounge or in when you go to the Beach Club, and in the Villas building, they have those two rooms, the drawing room and the breezeway. It just brings that like history of the Jersey Shore, of Cape May, of New England. Like it just brings it to life, and you step into it and you are stepping into a story. And that is what Disney is so good at, is making you feel like you are a character in this story that they are writing. And it feels so authentic and real.
That's the key to what right there is it feels real. It's not, we lived real close to Houston, so we went to Astro World all the time. Yeah, they do a good job of making you think something until you realize that you're looking at a plywood painted facade in front of you, not the detail that was in Walt Disney's eye to say, no, this has to be 3/4 of this to be 3/4 of that to make it this. The attention to detail in every single thing that they do, from the cast members telling you welcome home to the guy that's picking up trash on the street, every single thing they do is done to the utmost attention to make sure that you are immersed.
Definitely. Yeah, definitely. And so I'm looking over your sheet here that you turned in. You've stated almost all of them just like me, except you said you haven't done Grand Floridian yet. I haven't done Boulder Ridge yet, so we're close there. How about how besides using your membership, Tower Studios on the weekends, like what's your bucket list? What do you want to do next that you haven't done?
My oldest son lives in Denver, and he's going to be getting married sometime in the next, we thought it was going to be this summer, but it looks like they are going to put it off for another year. He just graduated college, so he's kind of feeling his way around the work world right now.
Sure.
But we want to go to Denver, and from Denver go to LA, and then from LA to go over to Hawaii.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I want to get my biggest dream, my biggest goal for next would be to get back to Disneyland. I've been to Disneyland twice. I went to Disneyland when I was 7 years old, and I think 81, 82, and then I went back again in 2002. So, but there's so much has changed. I mean, but it's, I'm not going to say it's different from Walt Disney World, because I haven't been, I know it is different from Walt Disney World, but it's Walt's original park. I mean, if you're a fan of Walt, there are people that are just a fan of Disney World. They enjoy the theme parks. They enjoy going, whatever. I would say we're not just fans of the theme park. We're fans of the whole idea, the concept. Walt Disney and what he came up with.
The innovations that he came.
Yeah.
I've been to his childhood home. I've been to the first studios that him and Roy had together. I am a Walt Disney fanatic. I love everything about the man. So I really want to see. I want to see Disneyland. I really want to see.
He hasn't gone, and our boys haven't gone either. I've only been twice, and so we had thought we would go in 2022, and then with COVID and everything got pushed back. So I'm not exactly sure when we're going to get there, but hopefully it'll be soon. And then the ultimate would be if we could combine it with a trip to Hawaii, just because it's so far from where we are. If we could, fly to California and, spend a couple days in Disneyland and then fly to Hawaii, it would at least, split the trip up,
break it up a
but
little
we'll
bit.
see. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you talked a lot about all of the things that you love and all of the great memories that you've made. Are there any memories that are not the ones that are featured on the highlight reel of your vacations because something did not go quite as planned, or
so Beach Club? Let's talk about Beach Club. I'll fully admit that some of it was my fault and some of it was not. For future reference, if you're in a room that has a phone that looks like a regular phone, but it's a cordless phone, you have to push a button on the phone to make that thing work. It's not that the battery's dead and you have to walk to the front desk to complain because you can't call it because your phone doesn't work. But the safe didn't work. And
a cabinet door fell off.
So picking up the phone and not having a dial tone kind of got me.
But Disney did make it right.
They did. They always make it right. The ice machine at Old Key West, our lack of ice machine at Old Key West. I'm thinking one bedrooms are definitely going to be how we have to go to stay at places that don't think an ice machine should be in every building.
Well, it's a good thing.
Or on every floor, Bay Lake Tower.
But at Old Key West, see, the points for one bedroom are so little that we could just get into one bedroom. So then we don't have to worry about that.
So there's so little that we have to complain about DVC wise. Really, we've had the usual. We've had the kids have too long of a day. But guess what? Now that we're DVC, we don't do that stupid rope drop to park close nonsense.
Nope.
We show up at the park at 4:00 in the afternoon. And if we don't ride everything, guess what? We're going to be back in, you guys have seen our post. We're back in 30 days. What's it matter?
Right. I would just say that obviously there's always negative things that happen. But for the most part, when I get home, I don't remember those things. I don't. There's a lot of things going on with Disney that are different than when I grew up at Disney. But still, even then, we always enjoy ourselves. We always,
even in the past few years, you used to not be told no when you asked for anything at all. And maybe they couldn't accommodate you, but you didn't get told no. You were told either let me check, or a flat out, yes, I will make something happen. And now I don't notice that as much. I don't know if it's because we've grown accustomed to that level of service. But Disney spoiled me. And so they set the bar really high. And when it doesn't live up to that bar, I get a little disappointed. Having a cabinet door fall off in my hand at Beach Club, I get it. It's an old room, but somebody should have gone through that room. And especially this was right after COVID. So you were supposed to be doing all these extra things. And that's why I didn't get into my room until after 5:00. And then to open a cabinet and have it fall off in my hand. And then to try to get into the safe and not have, but if that's all we have to complain about, and life's good.
Well, maybe it's you. Maybe you just need to lay off the Wheaties a little bit and maybe not open it quite so hard.
One other thing that I want to say is, I don't really know how it all happened this way. Again, divine intervention, whatever. But I mean, we probably our closest friends that we do things with live in Orlando. They live there. And so when we come down, it's not even just us. We're always hanging out with our friends. We're always hanging out with these people. And it just makes even more memories, I guess. It makes the time even more special, I guess. So that's something that wasn't always the case for me, but now as an adult, is in the last few years, is something to add to the magic.
And I work a lot, and a lot of the people that I work with, they're into things that I'm not into. I'm into Disney, and to have friends like you guys. I mean, and the Huffs and Tom and Michael and Orlando. Did not have to explain why I like doing what I like doing, and not have to feel judged by the amount of time. I mean, heck, when we met Michael and Orlando, you want to talk about a crazy story. I mean, you guys have heard it. We were at Olivia's, we're eating breakfast. These two guys walk in, they tell the waitress or the server, hey, yeah, we just drove in. It's been about 6 hours. And I look up and I said, oh, you guys must be from Atlanta. And he said, yep, and we follow you guys on Facebook. And it was just really weird. And then we go to dinner at Grand Floridian that night, and they're at the table next to us. And then I'm sitting at the balcony at Boardwalk, and I get a Facebook message, and it says, I promise I'm not stalking you, look to the left. And they were 2 balconies over.
I mean, that's what do you call that? I mean, divine intervention, fate, I don't know.
And then, so that was right when
that was before the parks reopened.
It was just the resort open.
Just DVC, yeah.
And then that was June-ish.
The end of June.
And then we went back July 4th weekend and stayed at.
No, this was July 4th.
So then we went back a couple of weeks later, a month or so later. Tom Atwood, out of nowhere. Hey, I see you guys are going to be at the Contemporary. You want to meet for a drink at the Wave? We ended up getting so many free drinks that night because there was nobody there. The bartenders were just happy to have people to serve and to be able to make drinks and mix drinks. And we met Tom and had a great time. And then we met the Huffs and you guys. And now when we go to the parks, I look forward more to hanging out with you guys than I do going to the parks, because it's like hanging out with family and longtime friends. It just makes this whole thing so much better.
Well, and that's exactly why we started the group that we started. You know, there's a lot of places in the internet world and the social media world to get Disney content, to learn about Disney Vacation Club, to do all these things, but we wanted a place where we could help facilitate that, because we had the same experience. You know, I met you guys, I've met the Huffs, I've met Amy, and we tell the story every time, but we had what could have been the most awkward day of either of our lives that ended up being awesome and actually led to this and what we're doing now. But it was that same day when we met you guys for breakfast. You know, she messaged me, says, hey, I'm going to be there. And I'm like, hey, I'm going to be there too. And they like, do you want to like go to grab some stuff? And sure. And we ended up spending the whole day together, which that could have been a nightmare, but it wasn't, because we kind of have found our people, you know, and everybody in the group kind of has that same mentality of, this is a community, we're respectful, but we want to get to know everybody. Everybody has a different story. DVC offers something for everybody. And I just appreciate the heck out of everybody. What was that? Sorry?
I said, and you don't think twice about ordering a round of shots when you're at La Cava, because that's what you're there to do.
Yep.
Well, speaking of that, I just watched your video. doing the shots at La Cava. So why don't you just share with our viewers your YouTube channel?
Our YouTube channel is Main Street Party of Four, FOUR. And it's funny that you say that, Amy, because my day starts at around 2:45 a.m. every morning. So I get up this morning to a text from Tom saying, I'm giving Amy a play-by-play on watching the video from where we're at Epcot. And I'm like, Amy's not, so I'm doing a double take. I'm Facebook stalking Amy to see if she flew to Disney overnight and why she's hanging out with the Atlas. And I'm like, well, Tom, that's great, but I don't quite understand what you mean. So now I got to wait 5.5 hours for the rest of the world to wake up to find out that you guys were trying to plan on getting together when you're there in a couple of weeks. So you see how we do this? It just makes a fun community.
It absolutely does. You know,
Absolutely
we went,
does.
my girlfriend and I were there for Hurricane Ian and had to miss out on a bunch of stuff because they closed a bunch of stuff. But at the same time, we got to do some stuff that we probably would have never done before. But kind of the crowning moment for us was just by pure happenstance. We were making our way around World Showcase, eating and drinking for food and wine. And Phil from our group messaged me and says, hey, you guys at Epcot? I left my family at the pool. I'm going to ride Guardians. I got extra spots. You guys want to go? Like, that would have never happened anywhere else.
Nope.
But we got to ride Guardians and we hadn't yet. And then we rode it 5 more times. But we were determined to ride it at least once because it was the only one we hadn't. And he came in a clutch. It's such a great community for that kind of stuff.
Well, you know, and we've even made friends with cast members.
Yeah, tell your story.
We met Benji over at Coronado.
Barcelona Lounge.
Just hanging out, having a couple of drinks, and I'm big into cigars. I'm the vice president of a cigar group that's got 32,000 members.
Wow.
So I'm big into cigars. So I like to talk about cigars. I love bourbon. So, you know, just started talking, and he said, you know, I've never been able to keep a humidor. I've never been able to get one to work right. And I said, well, you know what, guys, we're back in a couple of weeks. I'll put together a humidor for each of you and bring it back.
And he said when we left, he told his other bartender, his coworker, we'll never see them again.
So a couple of months later, we're back for Thanksgiving. I made it a point to go to Barcelona, give them, you know, their humidors. Turns out Benji's from families from right down the street here in Atlanta. So it boom, we became friends there. And it's again, it all becomes circular. It just becomes another part of the community, another part of the Disney community that's really fun to be around, and it makes it that much more enjoyable.
I agree.
Oh, and I guess we forgot to, when we were talking about goals, we forgot to mention the big goal.
A cruise?
Moving.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah, we hope to in the next 5 years be that living a lot closer than we are now. Need some things to break the right way for me. I need to learn a couple of things. I need to go to a couple of schools, but yeah. If I shook the magic 8 ball, it would say all signs point to yes.
That's great. Well, we're in the same boat. We're listing our house next week, and we plan to move. We'll be down there by summer if everything goes according to plan. So
I guess we're gonna have to add you to the hey, we're on our way to Orlando.
Definitely.
Chat group. Renee was up. We made our dining reservations for our February trip, and she said, "Well, I guess I might as well make everything for 8." 8 people. And if somebody can't, it's easier to cancel than it is to add.
Yep.
So I guess we'll have to start making it for 10.
Sounds good.
Well, guys, thank you
Amy,
so much.
You need to just start moving your trips either forward or backwards.
Yeah, you're not on the right schedule.
And it
it
seems to have been that way most of my Disney timeline. When it comes to you, we should have been at the opening of Galaxy's Edge and didn't because the impending storm that everybody told us was coming that didn't come. So we just keep missing each other.
I know, it's true. We do. We miss each other by like weeks.
But it's part of it is because we always have to go over school holidays. And if you don't have to go over school holidays,
you don't like going over school holidays.
Don't go over school holidays.
But it's also because your school, our I'm in the Northeast. We don't start school until after Labor Day. So we're shifted. So I think that's why we miss each other by weeks, because our schedules are just that much off sync. But
yeah.
I feel like anytime she wants to plan a trip, she needs to post a poll in the group and have everybody vote. This week works best for me.
Well, yeah, we're gonna miss the big get together by just a couple. We'll be there like a couple of weeks before you guys. So
right,
unless we win the lottery or something, and between now and then, it looks like we're gonna miss that. But
divine intervention has come to your aid before, so
it's true.
Don't give up faith.
No.
We'll have
Guys,
to
it's been so much fun talking to you. We're kind of running out of time here, but I just want to say thank you so much. Is there any final words of wisdom or anything that you want to share with our audience before we sign off?
I think the biggest thing for me about DV is it changed the way we Disney. If I would have had to keep doing rope drop to fireworks every night, I couldn't. I needed the day off in the middle. I really enjoy being able to sleep in and taking our time, hanging out at the pool, then going to the parks later on in the evening, enjoying the things that there are to do around the resorts. That's something I don't think everybody does, especially folks that Joe from Idaho that only comes once a year or once every 3 or 4 years. He's not going to take a day to rent a pontoon boat and drive around Bay Lake. That's really fun to do. He's not going to go horseback riding at Fort Wilderness. And we do, and we can, and that makes the whole thing better.
That's awesome.
Very well said. Well, thank you guys again for taking time out of your schedule to talk with us. This has been so much fun. To our viewers, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, like, follow us on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook. And until next time, we'll DVC you real soon. Bye, everyone.
See ya.